Hey everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. So today you can see I've got some colourful cakes. I'm going to show you how I layer this rainbow cake. Obviously I've got all 6 layers here and it's going to look like a unicorn. So, well, not a unicorn itself, but the cake is unicorn themed. So I'm going to go through covering it in fondant and adding some little decorations as well. So it's a really nice, I wouldn't say easy cake, but it's a nice tutorial if you're looking to sort of learn to cover and fondant a cake. And obviously seeing these layers go together, I love rainbow cake. It is my favourite. I think it's so satisfying, and I just think for every child to cut into a cake and see rainbow, it's like magic. So I really love it. So I've whipped up my buttercream, I've got my ganache ready, and we're going to start layering. So let's go. Okay, so I'm using a clear piece of acrylic just to layer my cake on, because the board I'm going to use, I'm going to cover with fondant. So it's always best to do the fondant and then add the cake when it's sort of iced and ready. Otherwise your board will get really messy. So I'm just going to start with putting it on here, and I'm starting with the purple layer. I don't really adhere it to this board because obviously I need to transfer it off anyway. So what I'm going to do is pipe a border of my firm buttercream, and that will just hold everything in. And then here I've got my soft buttercream. So you want to put your soft buttercream in the middle, and both of my buttercream recipes you will actually find on my YouTube channel. So be sure to check those out. You just want to get a nice even layer, and you don't want it to be too thick because the layers of these sponges aren't too thick either, and by the time you've got them all layered up it can get really tall and you don't want it to sort of all squeeze out. So I'm doing, this layer is a buttercream, and then my next layer is blue, and then this layer is going to be buttercream and jam. Sometimes with rainbow cake people just have buttercream, but this one they would like jam in the middle. So I'm just going to do a really thin layer and then go in with some jam as well. And just use the back of the spoon just to spread that around a little bit. And then my next layer is green. Pipe the border again. And then green goes yellow. And then another border. And then this one is the one where I add the jam. What's your favourite jam? Mine is probably, I feel like people naturally choose strawberry, but I think when you actually have it in a cake, raspberry is the one. I think it just breaks through all the sweetness sometimes because it's got a little bit more zing. So then I'm going in with orange. Pipe my last border. And then this one is just a buttercream one again. Although there was only 2 jammy layers, which I thought there was going to be more, but I started with a plain layer, so I think that's why. Wow, wow, wow. And then finally, the red layer. It is huge. I mean, there's no way around it. The rainbow cakes always come out absolutely massive, but they look incredible. Like, slicing that through a unicorn themed cake. I mean, I think this child's birthday cake is going to be made. I mean, I would love, as a child, to open up a cake that had rainbow inside. So what I'm going to do is just neaten up these edges. Some of the border has leaked out. And then I'm literally just going to pop this in the fridge just to firm up slightly. And in the meantime, I'm going to make sure my ganache is ready so that I can start ganaching. And there we have it. How cool is that? I can't wait for them to cut into it. Onto my ganache. And then you want to get your whisk and give it a nice good mix. And this will just get rid of any lumps, because when you do melt it, it can melt slightly unevenly. However, giving it this good whisk will really get it back to the consistency you had it originally. Like, you can literally see already, that is perfect. Okay, so I'm ready to cover my cake in ganache. So we're going to start with the top. I like to just sort of pour some on. You will also find my ganache recipe on my channel. It is literally my go-to. I never cover my cakes in anything else. They have to be ganached. It just gives them stability. You don't need to worry about them like ever. So yeah, if you're new to ganache or you've not tried it yet, you want to, then I really recommend you do and check out my recipe, because it is so easy. You can even make it, I always normally make it the night before, because then it sets overnight and it's a nice workable texture. But you can actually even make it on the day and just leave it like 1 to 2 hours to firm up in the fridge. And yeah, it's just so easy. Like, if you use buttercream at the moment, it is a game changer. You'll never use buttercream for a crumb cake again. So you just want to work all the way around, making sure it's all nicely covered. I like to do a fairly thin coat first, because then that does lock in all the crumbs. Nearly there. This cake is huge. It's 8 inches, but in height These are 10, so it's, I want to say like 7, 8, 9. It's probably 7 inches tall, which I think is pretty tall. I'm looking at it from here, it is anyway. I always find like tall cakes can be quite tricky to cut, so I don't always like making them super tall, but when it's a rainbow cake, there's an exception. So grab your straight edge scraper, preferably my one if you've got it, and you just want to smooth round and keep spinning your board, but keeping your hand pretty much in the same place, and you'll just sort of see all the layers come together, and it is really neat. I'm just going to go in with some of the extra ganache off of my scraper and just fill in any of the gaps. And also go in anywhere where you want it to be just a little bit thicker, like I find sometimes around the base and a bit in the middle. I just like it to just have a nice even coat. Especially when you're covering with fondant, you want it to be really flawless.
You busy, Pop?
No, why? Well, yeah, why?
I'm gonna test them and get some bits and come over.
No, I've got to get this ready. Okay, so this is now flawless and ready. What I'm going to do is pop this in the fridge, trim the top layer so you can sort of see I've smoothed the top, but when I've smoothed the sides it has like risen up, so what you want to do is wait for this to set in the fridge and then get a nice sharp knife and that'll really neaten your top edge. So yeah, this is pretty much ready to go. So I'm going to put it in the fridge while I get cleaned up and get my fondant ready. Hey guys, so I'm back. I've got my fondant here and I'm just going to start by colouring some of it blue. And I colour just a small amount because it is easier. Make sure to give your oil-based colourings a good shake. I'm using the Squires covering paste. It's their newer brand and it is really good. It is like a couture fondant. I'm not sure what everyone else has been using, but this is really good. It is so easy to work with, and I'm actually using the ivory because I'm colouring it anyway. And yeah, I'm going to show you how nice a colour this turns out. I'm also using the Colour Mill Baby Blue. So now that this is like fairly mixed, it doesn't have to be completely mixed, I'm going to start working it into my bigger piece. Just soften this off first. And then just add this in. You probably want to add more colouring, but it just makes it easier. Now I'm just going to start rolling out my fondant. I just like to make sure all the colour is incorporated. So if you start rolling and you can see like deeper, darker lines, just give it another mix. Okay. Make sure your surface is nicely dusted and your rolling pin. And then when you roll, you just want to push with an even sort of, I don't know what the word is, even amount of pressure, and then turn it. You don't want to flip it over. You just want to keep turning. You might see like little air pockets. You can just, using a sewing pin, just rub these out. Just pierce a hole, and then when you come to rolling, it will all smooth out again. So you don't need to worry that you've made holes. It's better to do it now anyway. Mine had quite a lot because when you add colouring, you're adding a lot of air into the fondant. So you might not get many if you're keeping it white. I'm hoping this is going to be big enough to cover my cake, so the cake is actually a lot bigger than I thought. Right, I'm just going to grab my cake out the fridge. I'm going to cover it quickly. Okay, so here's my cake. I have dampened it with kitchen roll and water just to make the ganache a little bit tacky. You can use vegetable shortening or Trex if you have it, but water does also work, so whatever works best for you. And then you want to just flip half the icing over your rolling pin and drape it neatly over the cake. Now I like to start by getting all the air out of the top to give that a really nice, firm, smooth. And then go around the edges like this to prevent it from tearing. And now you can start by smoothing the sides. So you want to just like fan it out and smooth it with your hand, just to get rid of all the creases. You have to work quite quickly here because you will see that your fondant starts to sort of firm up and you don't want it to crease or make marks, so that's why I'm working really quickly. actually didn't think I had enough fondant, but that's covered it perfectly. I used around 1 kilogram of icing. Normally I'd like to use a bit more just so I've got extra, but this has covered it. I think that's what I mean by this fondant. It is so like stretchy. And there we go. Now I want to get my smoothers. Okay, so you want to just smooth around all the edges using your fondant smoother. I like to go in with this one first, and then I use my flexi smoothers at the end and just go over the top. And you might see some air pockets form, so you just want to get your pin and just gently push in until you feel like you've gone through, and then your finger should be able to push that air out. Got another one come up there. Because if you leave these, they can sort of form massive air pockets. And then obviously once the fondant's hard, it's just going to crack. So you do really want to get these out. Okay. I feel like there isn't many others. I think there's one here. They can be really hard to see. Right, so here's my flexi smoothers. And I'm just going to hold one around the top edge and just smooth this round, giving me a really nice sharp finish. so for the bottom edge I like to use a pizza cutter, and you just literally want to go neatly around the bottom and trim away the excess. If you don't have a pizza cutter, you can easily use a knife. I think I just find it easier with this. I've just always done it. So peel that away, and then you're left with your super neat fondant cake. You can also just go around that bottom edge. Mine is going to be covered with decorations, but you can just literally smooth that edge out. And there you are. Hey guys, so I've just had a little clean up and I'm now ready to put my cake onto the fondant board. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. I'm actually just going to secure it with a little bit of buttercream, and it will just set nicely on there. And then we're going to start adding all the decorations. I'm probably going to do this on time lapse because my camera is running out of battery, which is not ideal. So I'm going to get it on there, quickly add the decorations and let you see the finished look. unfortunately my camera has died. However, this is the finished look. Isn't it so cute? I love it.